and I dropped out of high school. I never graduated. I just felt alone. I felt scared. And in that, I just made this thing around me that I'd rather be feared than loved. I really didn't want anything to do with Jesus. I didn't want anything to do with God. I just wanted to lead my own life and do my own thing.
He wanted to be feared more than love. I had to share that. That's powerful. A lot of people to this day hold on to that type of cocoon. They don't want nobody close to their hearts. They don't want nobody to enter in and love them because they're so wounded. They're so hurt. And majority of times, a lot of people that is broken and hurt, they hurt other people the most. And so let's just continue. Let's continue here. Okay. I have a lot of screens going on, guys.
But I always thought about family. I always thought if I had a family, I'd do it differently. And so when I finally got married and I met my wife, I thought things would change and I would be, the man that my father wasn't, and I would love my kids. But it ended up that I didn't love my kids that way, and I was becoming more and more like my dad. And I began to get really angry at my kids, get angry at my wife, and I blamed them for the way my life was. I never looked at myself and said, it's you did this to yourself. I loved my kids, but I didn't love them. I loved myself more. I began to take all the money that I had and buy things that I thought were gonna bring me some sort of happiness, some sort of joy and peace in my life, but they never did. And it just grew more and more debt, and I got more and more angry, and I drank more and more, and then I started hanging with the wrong guys and the wrong crew, and I ended up getting arrested. I used to curse and scream at my wife. I would cut her down with my words. I would punch holes in walls. My kids were fearful of me. The very person I didn't want to become is the person that I ultimately became in my life. And it got so bad that me and my wife talked about getting a divorce. And I think my exact words when we sat there outside that day at my in-laws' house is, fine by me. If that's what you want, I don't care. That's how hard my heart was, but I began to think.
A lot of people, if they can just turn back the hands of time when they are broken, a lot of times they would never had said the words that they had said. But at this moment in his life, he was just completely broken. He was giving up everything. He just felt like he was at the ends of everything. And we have to understand that's when God worked at his most and his best in our lives. That's when he sent out his angels, his people of righteousness right in your path, just when you're just about to give up on everything. So let's just continue on. This is just getting so powerful. I really am just, overwhelmed with his story. Let's go.
Think about it, and I was like, I really don't want to lose my wife and lose my kids, and where am I going to go? I was living at my in-laws at the time. I had spent all my money on ridiculous things. I didn't save any money. I had no career path. I had no hope. I had no future. And I felt like I'm just going to be alone again. And I'm going to be now this 30-year-old guy on the street like when I was 16. And I don't want to be that guy. So I was just fearful. And me and my wife talked, and she said, unless you change, unless you do something with your life, then I just want out. And so I said, okay, I'll look for something to do. And I just thought of any prestigious job I could get, and I thought a police officer would be pretty good, and I could prove everybody wrong that I could actually do something with my life. And so I filled out the preliminaries online for the San Diego Police Department, and I thought, great, this is going to change our lives. I was super excited. When I got out there, I felt good. I was in good shape. I had been working out. My wife said, this is a good thing. This is going to change our lives. And so all my hopes and everything were set on getting this job. The first day of the testing out there was a psychological, and there was 500 questions on the test. And when I left the testing, I felt very confident that I passed. As the results came in, I began to read, and it said, part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4 pass, and then part 5 failed. And so my hopes, my dreams, and everything that I had everything set on just vanished in an instant. And my wife called me right in that moment. And she said, "How's everything going?" I picked up the phone. I said, "It's great. Everything's good. This is going to change our lives." I didn't have the heart to tell her. And I began to think of how much I've messed up my life. And I was supposed to be out there for 3 days. All I could find myself doing is lying to my wife every day, telling her I've passed. I went on to the next exam and just drinking every night. I thought to myself, I can't go back. I can't go back to my family. I can't go back to my wife and tell her that I failed. And the last night that I was there, I decided to just take my life. And I had a bottle and I had some pills. I actually barricaded the door shut because I didn't want anybody to come in, even if I called out for help, because I knew in my own heart I might, and just tell somebody to help me and to save me, but I didn't want anybody to be able to save me. I just wanted to die, but I had this fear in my heart, like, where am I going? What's going to happen to me, you know? But I just knew that I didn't want to be here anymore. I filled up the bathtub and I thought, I'll take this bottle, I'll take these pills, and I'll just go to sleep, and I'll just drown, and I'll just not wake up, and I'll be free of this pain and this suffering that I'm feeling in this world. And I'll be free, and everybody will be free from me, because the world's just better off without me. I was believing every lie that the devil spoke to my head. And I laid there on the bed, and for the first time in my life, I looked up, and I said, "God, if you're real, do something."
I wanted to pause right there. I have to say something in this moment here, because right then and there are many people try to take their life, but it's some supernatural way God always intercede on their behalf. You know, it was countless times in my life personally that I felt like I'm done. I'm over it. I just don't. I wanted to die. I wanted to go home because it was so much. I thought that how the evil spirits come into your mind, have you thinking that you should end it now, you should let it go. And after I got delivered and the Lord saved me, I realized that the issue that I was going through was not that. It was small. It was something that I overcame, and it was a moment in my life I had to go back in that space where I was told that, the negative things, and I had to rejoice and give God the the victory over it, because at that moment it would come back again. Every time when we miss, it has to come back. We have to conquer this, and God will intercede. And when He said that, God, if you are who you say you are, show me your power, and God will do it. I'm telling you, I testify. I have witnessed it. I have experienced it myself. Anytime you challenge God and you come after His word, He is a man to perform it. So I wanted to share that, because that hit me to the core of what Chris said. And let's just see what God do in his life. I'm just so overwhelmed with this. Let's go. Mm.
Because I'm broken. I have fears. I have worries. I have doubts. I don't see you in this world. I see hurt, destruction, pain, and I hate myself the most. I hate the person that I am and the things that I've done. And I need somebody to help me. And if you're real, help me. And I found myself reach over to the drawer, and there just happened to be a Bible in it. I never read the thing before in my life. I picked it up and I began to read in Genesis, because I didn't know where else to read, And it said, in the beginning, God. And God created, And I was like, wow, all right. Well, if you created me, then you can fix me, because I'm broken and I'm hurting and I need you to fix me. And I fell asleep, Bible on my chest, and I didn't do what I planned on doing. And it had been the first night in about 25 years that I slept solid through the night. I went down and I had some breakfast at the hotel, and the waitress there wouldn't even talk to me. I kind of just wanted somebody to talk to me and tell me like everything's going to be okay. And as I was going back to my room, this woman carrying a cart of linens, who was catering an event on the 9th floor, happened to come in to the elevator with me. And I was sitting there thinking, maybe I should just finish what I started the night before, because I really don't feel any different. And the fear and the shame and the guilt of my sin and everything that I've done just gripped my heart again. And I thought to myself, I'm going to end everything, and this is it for me. And that's when the woman in the elevator just started making small talk with me. Just started asking me questions. Were you in the military? And I just answered yes. She probably just saw this haircut, and I just said yes, and I never was. And she reached out her hand, and she said, thank you for your service. And I felt like the worst person in the world, because now I'm stealing somebody's honor who defended this country, and I've never done a good thing in my life. And all those thoughts came back to me that I'm worthless, I'm a loser, I lie about everything, I'm no good, and it's better that I just take my life. And as I stepped out of the elevator onto my floor, the woman stepped out with me. Her name was Maria. She said, I need to ask you something else. And I turned and I looked at her, and I noticed that the doors were shut and her stuff was still on there. And I said, ma'am, your stuff's on the elevator. And she said, it doesn't matter. I don't care right now. And I felt something like just take hold of my heart before she even spoke. And she said, I need to ask you a question. And she looked right at me and she said, if you were to die today, are you 100% sure you're going to heaven? Any other time in my life, I would have said, get away from me. I don't need that right now. But it struck my heart. It was like something just drove straight through my heart. And I began to cry, and I said, no, I'm not. And that's the question I've been asking myself. And this woman looked right at me and she said, God is calling me to you right now, and he doesn't want you to do what you're about to do. And I said, what's that? And she looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, you want to take your life? And I just began to cry and say, how could you possibly know that? She said, I don't, but God does. And he loves you, and he wants you to know what Jesus did for you upon that cross.
I want to pause right there. I thank God for those men and women that are not afraid to talk to anyone about Jesus Christ and what he done on the cross. I thank God for you all. I thank God for the calling that you have in your life. I thank God for you, the willingness for you to speak to a stranger. Everybody doesn't want to talk. Everybody don't even want to share the word of God. I know people go to church Monday through Sunday and doesn't mention a word to their neighbors about God. They just go in and out, in and out. But this is what I love the most about how God does it. He said, I just need a willing soul. I just need a willing soul. And Maria was a willing soul. She was at the right time in the right place to save Chris. You don't know your neighbor. You don't know someone on your job, someone in the store, someone sitting in the car. You don't know what a person may need a word from God if you just want to say hi. If you just open the door and say hi, let the Lord do everything else. And Maria, all she did, she started off with simple conversation, and God intervened through her to him to let him know that he is real, he is powerful. And so I encourage you all today to speak of Jesus Christ. Don't be afraid. Do not be afraid of the Lord, because the Lord said, you have to be a servant of God, and you have to be a person that willing to share the good news and the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so let's just continue because I'm gonna get emotional. I'm this story to me is just so powerful. So let's just continue.
And she began to speak to me about Jesus in a way I never heard before, and how much he loved me, and why he endured that cross, and all that it meant. And it was like filling in the gaps of everything that I heard before. It was just making sense. And she grabbed me and she said, come with me. And we went to the 9th floor, and her sister was there. And these women began to pray over me, but in a way I never heard before. And at first I was just listening to them. And they were talking to God as though they knew him. And in an instant I realized, like, I don't know him like this. And that's when the woman said, just pour out your heart to him. Ask his forgiveness and he will forgive you, I promise you. And I said, God, forgive me for the lying, for the cheating, for the stealing, for hurting everybody that I've hurt. Help me, save me, because I don't know what to do anymore. I realized in an instant, as I was before the mercy seat of God, that if he was to say to me in that moment, like, get away from me, that would have been right. That would have been what I deserve, because I don't deserve to come into his presence. I don't deserve to be near him.
Mm.
But instead I heard with a clear voice speak to my heart and just say, Chris, lay these at my feet. Never think of these again. You are forgiven. And in a moment, I felt this love and this peace and this mercy come over me that I never felt before in my life, but that I searched for in the drugs and the alcohol, in the material things. I searched for it all my life, and there it was, like right in front of me. And the women began to just praise God and jump up and down and say, this is amazing. And I remember saying to them, like you don't understand, like God's here, like he's real. To the women who were telling me about God in the first place. And I returned home, and I was just a changed person. My wife saw it immediately. My in-laws, everybody, I began to just tell everybody about Jesus. I even told somebody about Jesus on the plane on the way home, and what God had just done in my life. I didn't know anything about him. I hadn't read the Bible or anything. But what made it so real to me is 2 weeks after. I had just finished reading, or actually I think a friend of mine sent me 2 Corinthians 5:17, which says, whoever is in Christ is a new creation. The old is gone, the new has come. And I was like, the old man is really gone. Like, I was not that guy anymore. I never drank again. I never smoked again. I never did drugs again. I never even watched explicit things again on the internet. I was just a completely changed man. And I was putting my daughter to sleep. And, I hardly ever kissed her before she went to bed. I really wasn't that loving towards her. And she saw it, and she was only 4 years old, but she saw the guy that Daddy was before. And as I put her to sleep, I prayed over her, and she grabbed my arm, and she said, Daddy, what changed in you? And it broke my heart, because she could see the change. And I thank God for it. And I said, Jesus, you changed my life. He is the true Son of God. He is God. And he's given me a second chance to love you. And I'm going to do my best to love you as he shows me how to. And she grabbed me and she hugged me. And she said, I love my new daddy. The very verse that I just read. I don't do everything perfect. And there's many times that I fail. But I know that I could come to him. And I know that he's forgiving and he's loving and he's merciful. And I pray for anybody who watches this and anybody who is feeling the way that I was feeling. God is there. He is ready and willing to forgive you of everything. He wants to draw close to you, and he wants you to draw close to him. And all you have to do is come to him by way of that cross, believe that his son died, believe that he rose again, and ask for his forgiveness, and he will forgive you. My name is Chris, and this is the story of how God forever changed my life. I have been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. The life I live in the body, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. Galatians 2:20.
Mm, 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 mm. Well, I'm gonna let you know something. This was very powerful. This was a very powerful testimony. I want to say a few things. Um, he said when his daughter hugged him, she said she saw the change in him. One thing about children are the closest thing to heaven. I'm telling you, they are the closest thing to heaven. And they can sense things. When the children know a bad person or a good person, they can tell you. But I thank God that the Lord came into Chris' life. and how he sent Maria into his life at a perfect timing to bring forth the good news that Jesus Christ loves him. He didn't take his life. And I thank God that he did not take his life. And anyone is watching this, I pray that you too know that Jesus Christ loves you. And he loved you so much that he died for you. And anything that you ask of in his name, he will do it. He will deliver you. He will save your soul. And I thank God that, he is the type of God, he will show up and show on time in a perfect timing in your life when you need him the most. Read your word. Get to a point in your life where you give him that devoted time of prayer and just hearing his voice. He will send people your way to help you along your path. He's just an awesome, awesome God. I have to thank God for Chris. I have to thank God for his testimony that he has earned a page in the book of redemptions. God has done for him, me, he can do it for you. He's God all by himself. Try him out. Just call his name. Just one time, just call his name, and he will show up and show out. God bless you all. I love you. Until next time.